You've just finished installing your underground dog fence, and now you're wondering where to put out the training flags? Watch this video. Hey folks, it's Adam with Outdoor Pet Solutions, and in this video we're going to talk about training flags. Placing your training flags properly and putting out enough of them is very important so your dog has a great visual aid in understanding where their new boundaries are. As you teach them their boundaries through the training process, this visual aid is important to them as well as you, because the audible tone that's delivered by the collar cannot always be heard by the trainer. It's down low around the dog's neck, and it's a very unique sound that's tuned for the dog's ears. So when we're out in the yard training the dog, we not only need the dog to understand what their boundaries are, but we need to know when the collar's activating. And I'm going to show you exactly where you should be placing the flags right now. So I get this question often. How do you put the flags out? Where do you put them? Do you put them on the wire? Do you put it before the wire, maybe after? The answer is you want to put the flags at a minimum of 4 feet before the buried cable. And this is on the inside of your property. Your goal is to have enough field width coming off that wire to activate the collar to provide the warning tone to your dog, and then followed by the correction. Now, if you have a dog that's very, very large, you're going to want to increase that field. And the reason is because the buried cable that's underground is projecting the radio frequency off of it. Not only is it coming into the yard, but it's being projected straight out of the ground. And you want the signal to be high enough to reach your dog's neck. So let's say your dog is knee high, you're going to want to hold the collar about waist high. And then that way, when you're approaching the line, it should be activating about 4 feet before you get to the wire. If you have a little dog, you can actually dial down the signal a little bit and hold the collar lower to the ground, but as long as it's above the neckline of your dog. You want the collar activating about 4 feet prior to the wire. So some folks, what they'll do is they'll turn the system on, and then they're going to walk the collar out to the perimeter and see where it's activating and try to get a sense of how far that is from the wire, and then begin to place flags by swinging the collar back and forth. I don't do that. The way I do it out on a professional installation is that I set out my flags first, and then I dial the system accordingly so that the collar's activating where I want it to activate. So the way I do it, it's very simple. I grab my bundle of flags and I walk along the perimeter. And while I'm doing so, I'm going to stand about 4 feet to the inside of my trench, and I will eyeball that. And so I'm keeping my eye on the trench as I walk around the yard placing flags. If you've installed your fence system using the hand method with the flat shovel or something along those lines, and you're having a hard time seeing where that trench is standing 4 feet in from it, you can take a few flags and you can periodically mark where your cable is all the way around your yard, about every 10 to 15 feet. And then that way you have a nice visual aid of where your wire is, and you can then walk 4 feet to the inside, taking a couple of steps and placing a flag, all the while eyeballing that distance. So I'm going to demonstrate that now. In this yard, I have a fence system that's been in for a few years, and I'm going to put flags out where the wire is. And then I'm going to show you how I eyeball placing the flags about 4 feet off the wire. Okay, so in this example, you'll see this white flag right here. Okay, and that is about where the cable is underground. And like I said, when you install your fence system, you're probably going to be able to see where you have dug, and you won't have to visually mark where the line is. But this is just going to help me in showing you where the cable is in reference to where I'm putting the flags. So that's what we're working with, this side of the yard here. And so if this is your trench here where that white flag is, it crosses the drive right there and comes right over to that white flag and then heads on down through the edge of the curb there. What you're going to do is eyeball that. So you want to stand to one side looking at the trench about like that, and then look over to where your feet are and eyeball about four feet or so, 4 to 5 feet right there. Okay, and you just maintain that visual distance as you make your way around the yard putting out the flags. So the way I do this is you want to eyeball where that cable is. So we're going to start with this flag right there. That's where the cable is. And you simply just step off roughly 4 to 5 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, right about there. And you want to stand about this distance away from the flag or the trench where you laid your cable. So just keep an eye on that. So you're going to visually step around the yard by keeping an eye on that distance. And you simply just place a flag right there. And then simply just take 3 easy steps. These aren't long steps, okay? Just regular steps, just you know, real minor steps, just casual as you make your way around the yard, and that'll determine the distance between the flags. So just 1, 2, 3, and then I place a flag again. Eyeballing where my trench is, about 4 to 5 feet off. 1, 2, 3, again, flag. 1, 2, 3, flag. 1, 2, 3, flag. And notice I'm able to keep a pretty consistent distance between where the wire is and where I want the signal to begin on the collar. And there's a nice even line right through there. 1, 2, 3. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, this is a radio signal and your dog is going to learn where their boundaries are. So if the collar's activating, you know, 8 inches before the actual training flag or just right after it, it's okay. As long as it's activating right near the flag, that's what we're wanting. 1, 2, 3. And then when you get into these curves in the corners of your boundary, just be mindful that that signal's coming in on both ends of the line, on both ends of the corner here. So you're going to want to push the flag in just a little bit further than that typical 4 foot in that right there in the corner. And then come back up, 2, 3, again, about 4 feet off the wire. 1, 2, 3, again, 1, 2, 3. And you can see that the distance between those flags is roughly about 4 or 5 feet. And I'm walking right through the middle of them. The innermost flag on the left side is where the collar will begin to activate. The outer flag is representing where that cable is. So that flag there is representing the cable. This flag here is the training flag, and this is where the collar will begin to activate. And again, as I mentioned earlier, 4 foot, about this distance here, is what we typically set them up at. Now, if you have a larger dog, a much taller dog, you're going to want to push this field in more. If you have a smaller dog, you can give them a little bit more room. But 4 foot right there is a good sweet spot for most average-sized dogs. So something I want to point out, that cable that's underground is producing the radio frequency and it's projecting off that cable. It's not only coming in, but it's coming up. And so if you dial this in thinking you're giving your dog more room to play, you are at the same time bringing that signal too low to the ground. And if you have a tall dog, they're going to walk right over the signal and the collar's not going to activate. So you need that signal to be high enough out of the ground to activate your dog while pushing them in a good 4 to 5 feet so that they have enough field to interact with, because you want that collar to begin by audibly warning them first before correcting. If you give them too small of a field, it's going to go right into correction every time. So when you go to your transmitter and you're making system adjustments for the field width, there's a white knob on the face of the transmitter. That's your fine-tune adjustment. If you have installed boundary wire over, say, 1,500 feet, you've got more than 1,500 feet of cable installed, there's a switch on the bottom side of that transmitter that needs to be moved to the L position. That's going to amplify the radio frequency to accommodate larger properties. If you have less than 1,500 feet of cable, you want to make sure that switch is in the N position for normal. And then you'll be using the white knob on the face that's labeled field width to adjust and then fine tune where the collar activates. And you want the collar activating right at the flag, just like that. It needs to activate right on top of the flag. Now, you also need to be holding your collar simulating your dog's height of their head plus about another foot. So if your dog is, say, knee high, you want to hold that collar about the waist level and approach the line and make sure that it's activating right here at the flags, as you can hear. this collar is activating right when I get to the flags, and that's exactly what you want. But when you come out, if you happen to approach it and the collar's already activating, you're going to want to dial back that field whisk so that the signal comes closer to where the flag is. And then of course the opposite is also true. If you come out and it's not activating till you're past the flag, you're going to want to turn that dial up so that it starts to activate right here at the flag line. I hope this video was helpful in showing you exactly where you should be placing your training flags after you've set up your new dog fence system. If you're in the market for an underground pet containment system and you're looking for the absolute best, you need to consider the OPS 1000. It's my professional grade dog fencing system that comes in a convenient do-it-yourself kit. It comes complete with everything you need to install, including step-by-step instructions teaching you how to install it like a professional. Plus, you're going to be walked through exactly how to properly train your dog to your new fencing system. Follow the link down in the description to get yours today, and it'll come with free shipping. And as always, thanks for watching. Goodbye.